Speaking of correspondents, let's head now straight to the White House, bring in SABC News correspondent Sherwin Bryce-Pease, who was in the room during that interaction between President Cyril Ramaphosa and Donald Trump, Sherwin. And you've been out there for the last few minutes now, basically taking the temperature as to what can be achieved post that media interaction.
Well, I will say this, Tempequila, if you want to take the temperature of that moment in the Oval Office, I would describe it as the pot boiling over, right? A soft, I think there was a lot of unexpected nuance to how that played out. And so I'm standing outside the White House right now, awaiting President Ramaphosa's departure from the White House. They're having lunch. Their delegations are now conferring. But we are out here trying to digest what just played itself out live on television cameras and TV screens around the world. And to help me do that, an American correspondent with the news organization, the Slice News Urban Radio Report, Mona Orson, is joining me just for a brief conversation. Mona, for the South African contingent, the South African journalists that were here today, this would have been a completely new experience. You've been around these parts a little longer than I have. Tell me what your takeaways are from that interaction we just witnessed.
Sherwin, this White House is a house of many colors. We are not short on explosive conduct here, especially under the Trump administration. Of course, we all know about what happened when Zelensky came, and many people were anticipating a possible similar recurrence. For me today to see this, I absolutely was in shock. And I watched as President Ramaphosa kept his composure despite the surprise element of it all. He is someone who evoked peace through Nelson Mandela. And I thought that was part of the entire point of coming here and understanding the violence that is surrounding the notions of genocide and actual possible genocide, to have a leader come despite being completely taken aback. Yeah. And keeping his poise in that moment was quite impressive. But like everyone else, perhaps around the world, I was shocked to see it.
Yeah, shocked as well by the moment where, the president said, turn down the lights, or whoever said it, and then playing this video of an opposition leader, chanting, kill the Boer, kill the farmer, and making that sort of a very central moment in this entire conversation. And then, of course, Ramaphosa responding that this was, of course, not government policy. Have you ever seen a moment like that where they sort of come with the files in an effort, I think, to undermine the relationship moving forward?
I have seen something similar. In fact, when Kylie McEnany, it was more a domestically related incident where they brought certain videos to the press room talking about something that was happening in the city of Chicago here in the U.S. So I have seen that before. And this administration very much likes to do what they call providing the receipts. That's a term that you might hear on the internet. They like to bring the receipts. But those receipts, I understand from speaking to your South African representative, that they deserve some context. And here in the U.S., it is unfortunate that we do not get to hear lots of global news and have global perspective on these things. And so on one hand, there is a good takeaway from this in that perhaps people will investigate what's happening in South Africa. My understanding is that 72% of the farmers in South Africa are Afrikaners. And so their perspective-wise, that gives a different perspective to the notion of oppression. And so I think it's important that we had this floodgate sort of open today, if you will.
Yeah, I've just dropped the line, guys, so if you can call me back, I'm going to continue talking to Mona here. We connected basically on the language that came out of that conversation in terms of the equivalence you heard from President Trump to apartheid South Africa when, the black majority was undermined by the white minority nationalist government, and making an equivalence to sort of a reversal of apartheid in light of what they believe to be the Afrikaner problem of genocide in South Africa. I was very curious to hear your takeaway. Maybe share it with our viewers as well.
Here in the United States, we like to refer to this as sort of righting the wrongs of the past. We have a sordid history of slavery, and currently there's some denialism that's happening through historic revisionism, where we are not able to get books in schools that address the painful past of Americans. I see that there is a parallel here with South Africa not fully addressing the painful past of apartheid. I will never forget it as an American because on my 19th birthday, February 11th, 1990, I was a journalism student, and that is the day that Nelson Mandela was freed. And so that was very significant to African Americans here in this country, and it's something that we still reflect on when we talk about global freedom and equality. So that is a big takeaway for me as it relates to how we see things here in America. Not stifling the truth is key in this moment.
Mona Orson, thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time. Mona Orson is with the Slice News, the White House correspondent, spends a lot more time in the surrounds of the Oval Office in the press briefing room. She also covers the Senate side of the United States Congress. Just always important, Tembekile and Bongiwe, to get a different perspective here. But of course, just the equivalence of, comparing apartheid South Africa with what is happening in terms of current day South Africa, the white Afrikaner situation that is being elevated and amplified by this White House. They're still in that lunch meeting now doing their tete-a-tete. You've got Parkstow, John Steenhuisen, Kumbutso Ntshabeni, the president himself, President Ramaphosa, in the room, and Ronald Lamola of International Relations. We saw Elon Musk in the room as well. One wonders if he's also sitting around that lunch table right now. But of course, no cameras, no fly on the wall scenario. But certainly later we expect the president of South Africa to hold a press conference at his hotel with the South African media that have traveled here, including ourselves. And so still a lot more to come in what already feels like a day populated with a lot of narrative, a lot of information, and a lot of divergent views. The question is, how does this relationship move forward from this moment? Some Tembekile might even say, how does it recover from this moment? But certainly you saw the poise from President Ramaphosa, and his posture was very calm. I'm going to hand it back to you. My line has dropped again.
Sherwin, Bryce-Pease, our correspondent outside the White House in the United States.